Before diving into the video, did you know that over 80% of you watching right now aren't subscribed? Your one like and one subscribe means the absolute world to this channel and helps us keep going. Hit those buttons real quick and let's get into the video. Chapter 0. What does it feel like when the person you love is a girl with an insatiable libido in everyone's eyes? I was the perfect, devoted, warm-hearted boyfriend. After my breakup with my ex-girlfriend, for the convenience of still taking care of her, we continued maintaining a friends with benefits relationship. However, after one intimate night, she suddenly tossed me her favorite strawberry-flavored protection and said, "I'm getting married. We're trying for a baby, so I won't need these anymore. Stop clinging to me all the time, too. I'll introduce you to a gorgeous beauty instead. There's still half a box of ultra-thin ones left, perfect for you." My heart ached instantly, and I refused on the spot. After all, my sinful dream girl was about to return home. Half a box wouldn't even be enough for me to last a single day with her. Chapter 1. The Parting Gift. After an intense, utterly satisfying round of sex, Chloe got out of bed completely naked. Watching her graceful figure disappear into the bathroom, I lit a cigarette out of habit. Maybe the chaos of our heated symphony earlier had been too overwhelming, because now the sudden quiet afterward felt especially comforting. Chloe came out wiping her hair dry, reached over, and casually took the cigarette from my lips, sharing the same after-sex smoke with me. As smoke curled around us, she picked up the half-used box of strawberry-flavored ultra-thins and casually tossed it over. I caught the box, momentarily stunned. She explained casually, "I'm getting married. We're trying for a baby, so I won't need them anymore." Her red lips parted slightly, the ember glowing on and off in the dim room. Even smoking somehow looked seductively provocative on her. Seeing me stare blankly at her, she laughed with reckless charm, her voice still carrying the hoarse softness left behind by passion as she said, "I introduced you to a blind date. Want to meet her?" Smoke drifted around her face as she slowly blew out a ring. "My fiancé doesn't like girls who smoke, so he still doesn't know I smoke at all. Yours is the only place where I can still do it. We had known each other for years, but we only truly became close during a gathering last year. She matched my exact type physically, and I'd heard she'd dated plenty of guys before. I even secretly checked her medical test results first to make sure she was clean before pursuing her. People all said she was wild and easy. Even so, I chased after her for half a year. We started as friends, spent another half year trapped in flirtatious tension before I finally won her over. But only 6 months into dating, she told me, we're better off as friends, so we broke up. Still, because our bodies fit together so perfectly, we continued being bed partners for another year. Honestly, it was ironic. Chloe had always lived exactly however she pleased. I still remembered her constantly saying, "I'd never change myself for someone else. If someone likes me, they should accept every part of me." Yet now, that very same woman was pretending to be a sweet, obedient fiancé. She slipped on a camisole and curled her lips into a teasing smile. "I'm getting married soon, so stop hanging around me all the time. The girl I'm introducing you to is seriously gorgeous. As for this half box of ultra-thins, you'll make good use of them." I froze for a moment, dazed. "But didn't you just say we'd use them again tonight?" She rolled her eyes. "I'm seeing my fiancé tonight, remember? Seriously, where do you even get this much energy every single day?" My mind went blank. I shoved the half box of ultra-thins into my pocket. "Okay," I said. "I got it." Of course, there was still some regret. I originally thought that since we were so physically compatible, we could keep fooling around a little longer. But now she had a fiancé, so there was no choice but to end it. Chapter 2. The Alliance and the Panic. Still, after dragging things out for this long, I was probably the ex Chloe had taken the longest to completely cut off. She pulled out her phone from her purse, tapping casually on the screen with slender fingers. "All right, I already asked Serena to send you the contact card for your blind date. Don't forget to show up." Serena was her best friend. Whenever I couldn't find Chloe, I usually contacted Serena instead. I nodded. Meanwhile, Chloe began touching up her makeup in a compact mirror. When she lifted her gaze again, her cool, elegant eyes carried a hint of warning. "You know," Chloe said, "a qualified ex should act like they're dead and stay out of each other's lives. Don't randomly bother me all the time. If my husband finds out, I won't let you off easy. But you're probably not pathetic enough to do something that's shameless, right?" Of course I knew that. Not only was I not the clingy type to begin with, but Chloe was a rich heiress. Her marriage partner was naturally another wealthy second-generation heir. Why would I go looking for trouble with people like them? I stubbed out my cigarette and replied flatly, "Don't worry. Her expression relaxed slightly, satisfied with my answer. After getting herself ready, she left first. I waited another half hour before leaving myself. That was our unspoken rule. Back at my apartment, my phone screen lit up. Just as promised, Serena had sent over the blind date's contact card. At the same time, an entertainment headline popped up. The eldest son of the Sterling family appears publicly with his fiancée. The Sterling and Vance families are set to form a powerful alliance. I tapped into it. In the photo, the man stood tall in a perfectly tailored suit, calmly wrapping an arm around Chloe's waist. Meanwhile, Chloe gazed at him affectionately with a softness I had never once seen from her before. The comments section was exploding. Wow, the way Chloe looks at Julian is dripping with love. This is way too sweet. A friend saw them at a banquet and said Julian never once checked his phone the whole night. At one point, dessert got on Chloe's lip, and he wiped it off with his finger, then naturally licked it off afterward. Chloe even got shy about it. Did anyone notice the matching rings Chloe and Julian are wearing? Apparently, they designed them together and even engraved each other's names on them. They're showing off their relationship every second of the day. Chloe was never like this before. The icy rich girl has completely turned into a spoiled little wife. If the commenters hadn't pointed it out, I probably wouldn't have noticed those details at all. Back then, I had also given Chloe matching couple rings once. She had only sneered and said, "How cheesy can you get? We're not even getting married, so what's the point of wearing fake symbolic stuff like this?" I said nothing. After all those little romantic couple gestures, I had originally learned them from the relationship before the previous one. I never added the blind date. I closed the web page, muted my phone, and collapsed straight into bed. I slept for an entire day. When I finally woke up, my messages were flooded. My friend Lucas had sent a long string of panic texts. "Holy shit, Ethan, your sinful dream girl is back in the country. Check your phone now. Pick up. She already landed." My heart nearly stopped. During the entire year I'd been involved with Chloe, I had never once been afraid, but now I really was terrified. Chapter 3. The Sinful Dream Girl. Elena, the sinful dream girl, is my ex-girlfriend. We were university classmates. She was beautiful and brilliant. I was lustful and allergic to stupidity, so naturally I fell for her, and I acted on it too. But she was extremely rational, like a precision-engineered machine. Her world consisted only of studying and data. I started sneaking into her classes whenever I had free time, sitting beside her for an entire month, and she still didn't recognize me. So I had to use a few little tricks. One day, I tossed my book into her desk compartment, tapped her shoulder, and said, "Excuse me, I think my book ended up in your desk." She turned her head and stared at me for 3 seconds before slightly frowning. "Last Tuesday you used the exact same excuse to make me hand you your book. And also on the 26th, the 18th, and the 12th of last month." Even I couldn't remember all that, yet she listed every single date perfectly. I got ridiculously excited. Later, I added her contact and started inviting her out every day in different ways. Even though she rejected me often, it wasn't like she gave me no response at all. By the time she agreed to date me, exactly half a year had passed. Before Elena, I was honestly a pretty innocent guy. I didn't know the first thing about chasing girls. Most of the skills I learned only came from dating her, which was why I already had experience by the time I pursued Chloe later. As for the nickname Sinful Dream Girl, that was because once Elena got a taste of intimacy, her appetite became terrifyingly intense. Day after day, she practically drained me dry. And on top of that, she was like a machine that knew my exact physical limits. Her words from back then surfaced in my mind again. "Ethan, faster? Ethan, I know this isn't your limit yet. Hold on for another 2 minutes and 18 seconds. Another new record. Ethan, you're amazing." She never held back when praising me. Her voice always carried calm, analytical approval, and it constantly left me completely defeated. Later, she was selected by an overseas research institute. I didn't want to hold her back, so I was the one who suggested breaking up. Deep down, I even felt relieved. After that, I met Chloe. Pulling myself back to reality, I hurriedly packed my luggage. Because back then, Elena hadn't agreed to the breakup at all. She had cried until her eyes turned red right in front of me. To reassure her and let her study abroad peacefully, I promised her it would only be a fake breakup. I promised I would wait for her to come back. But the moment she left the country, I immediately changed my phone number, moved to a new place, and then met Chloe. Chapter 4. Logic versus Emotion. While pulling clothes out of the closet, I called Lucas and asked, "How do you even know she's coming back?" "I checked before. That project she joined was supposed to keep her overseas for at least 5 years. I shoved daily necessities messily into my suitcase and said, "It's only been 3 years. Why the hell did she suddenly come back?" Lucas replied, "I'm wondering the same thing. My girlfriend told me. Aren't those two best friends?" She mentioned it casually. Then he added, "Although I heard Elena's become a rising star in the tech world lately. Her momentum is insane." I zipped up the suitcase without responding. Lucas asked, "What are you doing over there? Sounds noisy as hell." "Packing," I replied, standing the suitcase upright. "I'm getting out of here for a few days first." The other end of the line went silent. Then Lucas said speechlessly, "You're seriously this cowardly? What? Is she going to eat you alive or something?" "Honestly, she might." Then he asked again, "So have you ever thought about getting back together with her?" I nearly jumped in fright. Get back together? I lied to her, and then I got involved with Chloe. Lucas interrupted immediately. "Back then, weren't you doing it so you wouldn't hold her back? You already tried breaking up with her honestly, but she refused to leave and even wanted to give up her chance to study abroad. What else could you do besides trick her? And besides, you're single now anyway, aren't you?" He didn't understand. Elena was the type of person who, once she locked onto something, would calculate every possible variable to the end. I just needed to avoid her first. Once she confirmed I disappeared completely, maybe she'd finally give up. Dragging my suitcase behind me, I walked to the door and pulled it open, then immediately shut it again, then opened it once more just to confirm. Holy shit. Elena lowered her eyes toward my suitcase. Tilting her head slightly, she asked, "Ethan, where exactly are you planning to go?" She stepped around me and walked inside. The narrow entrance instantly felt suffocatingly cramped. I unconsciously took a step backward. The door closed behind her. Cold air still clung to her cream-colored cashmere coat, but it still wasn't as cold as her expression. She said, "Before returning to the country, I calculated every possible reaction you might have. Emotionally, I believed you would wait for me just like before. Logically, I concluded you would run away and that you would act within 1 hour of confirming my return. And now it seems, Logic 1. Chapter 5. Restoring Former Glory. After 3 years apart, Elena had become thinner. She had a naturally cold, distant-looking face, yet those eyes of hers were peach blossom eyes, full of dangerous allure. If she could accurately calculate the exact moment I'd learn about her return, then she probably already knew everything about Chloe too. She looked calm on the surface, but inside she was definitely furious. That was always how she was, ridiculously jealous and never bothering to hide it, which meant the next step would be exactly the kind of thing a sinful dream girl would do. I immediately puffed myself up and declared, "I'm Ethan. I can go wherever the hell I want. So what if I was planning to run away?" She said nothing. Those eyes stayed fixed on me, studying me with the intense focus of someone examining a recovered experimental sample. "I just wanted to confirm your condition," she said softly. Yet a chill shot straight up my spine. That familiar feeling, the kind of exhaustion where your whole body collapses like you're about to be completely drained dry, was already creeping back. Pretending to stay calm, I said, "What's there to confirm? We've been broken up for years already. Wait, after all this time, you seriously never found another boyfriend?" Her gaze shifted slightly. "Does that bother you?" she asked. Speechless, I replied, "No, Elena. We already broke up. Why shouldn't I be allowed to?" Before I could finish, she suddenly smiled. "Of course you have the right to choose," she said. I was running out of patience. I wanted to ask her to leave, but the moment I lifted my hand, the box in my pocket slipped out, the half-used box of ultra-thins. My scalp went numb as I lunged to pick it up, but one hand reached it before I could. Elena opened the box and glanced inside. Then the corners of her lips slowly curled upward. "Ethan," she said, "you already prepared everything." "No, that's not." She lifted her eyes again, disappointment flickering across her expression. "Only 3 left? You're this weak now." But immediately afterward, her tone turned firm again. "But it's okay. I'm back now. I'll definitely help you restore your former glory." I said helplessly, "No, listen, these actually belong to..." But the next second, she had already kicked off her shoes and thrown herself into my arms, wrapping around my neck before kissing me directly. And honestly, my body reacted immediately. The kiss was wet and lingering. I held her waist, somehow pulling her even closer without realizing it. Just as she climbed onto my lap, both of us losing ourselves in the moment, someone knocked on the door. A familiar female voice came from outside. "Ethan, open the door." I instantly snapped back to reality. Only then did I suddenly remember. When Chloe left yesterday, she really had said she'd come back today to pick up something she forgot. Chapter 6. The Past Knocks. I pushed Elena away. I was just thinking of making up an excuse and pretending I wasn't home when the knocking suddenly stopped. Then, immediately afterward, my phone started ringing. The ringtone sounded especially piercing in the silent apartment. The person outside had obviously heard it. The knocking resumed, louder and far more impatient than before. Elena cupped my face and turned my attention back toward her. She looked at me with wide eyes, her tone so soft it was practically coquettish. "Ethan," she whispered, "don't open it." I panicked slightly. "But she already knows I'm home. Isn't this kind of bad?" Before I could finish speaking, Elena hung up the call right in front of me. Then she kissed me again. "Keeping me hidden here," she murmured, "isn't exactly good either." As our lips tangled together, she whispered softly, "You and her are already over. She belongs to the past." Another message notification popped up. I pulled out my phone, and as expected, it was Chloe. The first 2 messages had been sent before she arrived. "Ethan, I am absolutely not getting back together with you, so don't bother begging later. My husband treats me amazingly. He's handsome and knows exactly how to spoil me. You can't compare to him." Then the later messages, sent after I refused to open the door and hung up on her, were clearly furious. "Why aren't you opening the door if you're home? Pretending to be dead again? Fine, then don't ever open it again for the rest of your life." I was even thinking that after getting married, maybe I could still occasionally see you for old time's sake. But now I realize I was giving you way too much respect. Huh. I stared blankly at the screen, completely confused. Suddenly, the phone was snatched from my hand. Elena glanced at the messages, a trace of mockery flashing through her eyes. Then her arms looped back around my neck again, dragging me down into another overwhelming tide of desire. It wasn't until the next morning that I finally remembered the terror of once being ruled by a succubus-like sinful dream girl. How the hell did I never learn my lesson? Just as she started preparing for another round, I suddenly grabbed her wrist. "Wait, aren't there only 3 left? You can't exactly reuse those." She smiled faintly before leaning against me again. "While you were asleep earlier, I already ordered more delivery." Fair enough. A sinful dream girl really was worthy of the title Sinful Dream Girl. Back then, I used to work overtime until I completely neglected food and sleep. Now she actually scheduled rest time for me. She was honestly incredibly considerate, and the overall experience had improved by way more than just one level. Chapter 7. 3 days in isolation. By the time I finally got my hands on my phone again, 3 days had already passed. The screen was flooded with messages. Lucas asked, "Where are you?" Elena stood my girlfriend up. "Don't tell me she went to find you instead." Reply already. "All right, I get it." Then there was a message from Serena. She said, "You still haven't added her? Are you still hung up on Chloe? If you want, I can set up a meeting with Chloe for you." Chloe said no. Don't blame her, though. She's really fallen hard this time. So now she's paranoid about everything. Chloe arranged for you to meet her friend instead. Sunday, 3 p.m., Dream Cafe. Don't forget to go. Wasn't that today? If they were setting me up on a blind date, they could at least have asked me first. And why did Chloe assume I'd keep simping after her like some desperate loser? Did I really come across that pathetic? The problem was, I hadn't even done anything. Finally, I opened Chloe's chat window. At the top were her messages. "Where are you? You won't answer calls, won't reply to messages, won't leave your house, and now you even stood a girl up on a blind date. Ethan, what exactly are you trying to do?" Below that was a voice message. I tapped it open. A woman's voice spilled out. Chloe sounded disgusted as she said, "So what exactly are you? Are you really that obsessed with me? Just because we broke up, you've spiraled into this?" The voice felt painfully familiar. It carried that distinct husky softness she always had after sex. I suddenly found the whole thing unbearably pointless, so I replied, "Been busy. Your husband treats you so well. I suggest you focus on living a good life with him from now on." The very next second, she called me with a voice message request. Almost at the same time, the bathroom door opened. Elena walked out wiping her hair dry, droplets of water sliding down along her collarbone. Panic shot through me, and my finger accidentally brushed the screen. The call connected. Chloe's voice rang especially clearly through the room. "Ethan, my friend waited for you in that cafe the entire afternoon. You disappear for 3 days just to get my attention like this?" She let out a soft scoff. "You're right, my husband really is wonderful. But some things, as long as he never finds out, What's the problem? Chapter 8. The Cold Reality of Cheating. Fuck. Back when I was dating her, I didn't think much of it. We were just using each other for what we wanted. But what the hell was this supposed to be now? I gritted my teeth and snapped. Chloe, don't you feel sick saying things like that? If you've got no shame, fine, but I'm not interested in degrading myself with you. Elena suddenly leaned over and kissed me, a soft laugh brushing past my ear. She said, research shows cheating only comes in two forms, 0 times or countless times. She's not worth your energy, Ethan. Look at me. The other end of the call instantly fell silent. Then Chloe asked, who's with you? Before I could answer, she suddenly let out a cold sneer. Ethan, are you seriously this childish? I thought you were handling the breakup so gracefully. Can't keep the act up anymore. So now you hired some woman to pretend and make me jealous? Her voice dripped with mockery. Back then when you were chasing me, you pretended to date someone else too, and now you're pulling the same stunt again. Do you really think this is interesting? Huh. She thought that was fake. It was real. Back then, she wasn't exactly easy to win over, but I wasn't hopelessly obsessed with her either. If she didn't work out, I'd just move on and chase someone else. Then I found out that girl was dating several guys at the same time and trying to milk me for money, so I turned back and focused entirely on pursuing Chloe. During that period, I really did act pretty pathetic, so pathetic that even Chloe's friends joked that she was amazing at training simps. What they didn't understand was this. People can train dogs because they have the power to control them, but people aren't dogs. When someone throws away their dignity, there's usually another motive behind it. Chloe was definitely trash, but over the past few years, it was through Chloe that I managed to build connections with the Vance family. The investments I could never secure on my own, the resources I could never reach, the Vance family could hand them to me effortlessly. And because of that, I finally climbed to the position I have today. Chapter 9. The Rising Tech Star. Amid Chloe's mocking laughter, I blocked and deleted her. Elena lay against my chest and whispered softly, I like you so much. I missed you so much. Honestly, I felt the same way. I had just forced myself not to think about her before. But I had only taken 3 days off work, and I had to return to the office. So I got up, gently pushed her away, and brought this absurd situation to an end. Later, while having lunch with Lucas, he tried persuading me. Bro, she's already back anyway. Why not just give in and get back together with her? For the past 3 years, I had deliberately blocked out every piece of news about her because I was afraid I'd waver. She really was amazing. Other than the fact that her needs in certain areas left me a little overwhelmed, she was practically flawless. Seeing me stay silent, Lucas continued. Can you stop dragging your feet already? Do you even realize my girlfriend told me Elena hasn't dated anyone all these years overseas? Forget men, even a male mosquito couldn't get close to her. Don't you get what that means yet? I pressed my lips tightly together, then hurried toward the company. Lucas was still muttering behind me, though. Apparently Elena bought a house back here in the city, and during those 3 years abroad, she'd disappear for a few days every holiday season. No clue what she was doing. My heart stalled for a moment, but I immediately rejected the thought forming in my head. Back then, I had rejected her so ruthlessly. Without any way to contact me, and with barely any friends left in the city, how could she possibly have found me? When I arrived at the company, President Bennett handed me a stack of project documents. If we can land this contract, you'll be the company hero. I smiled and accepted the file, but froze the moment I opened the first page. Lead technical director of the partner company, Elena Hayes. President Bennett chuckled teasingly. What? Stunned by her looks. Honestly, with a face like hers, it'd be a waste if she didn't enter the entertainment industry. I heard her team just cracked the core algorithm for minimally invasive neural intervention robotics. They're the hottest thing in tech right now. Tons of companies are fighting to collaborate with them. I nodded. All right, I'll go through the materials first. Reviewing the documents didn't take long, but only then did I fully realize how accomplished Elena had become. Lucas said, I know about this project. Right after they landed, the Vance Corporation started aggressively trying to win them over. They're probably very confident they'll secure the partnership. So, want to contact Elena directly? I paused. Truthfully, our company didn't have much hope for this collaboration in the first place. Elena might be the rising star of the tech world, but now that the Vance family's daughter was marrying into the Sterling family, the Vance family had Julian backing them. Anyone with common sense knew which side people would choose. I poured myself a cup of coffee and said, I'll contact her later. Chapter 10. The Key Card and the Office Deal. I contacted Elena. She didn't answer the phone. Since I was already supposed to discuss the partnership in person, I simply brought my team along to meet her directly. The receptionist asked whether I had an appointment. I replied, she didn't pick up my call. Elena is currently in a meeting with Mr. Sterling. The receptionist said with a polite smile. You may wait here. Once their discussion is over, I'll notify her. I thanked her. Marcus muttered quietly beside me. Ethan, Julian personally showed up to back the Vance Corporation. Do we even stand a chance anymore? Feels like we're just here to make up the numbers. I didn't respond. Not long after, the elevator doors opened. Chloe and Julian stepped out together. Julian, the obsessive, wife-loving husband Chloe always bragged about. He looked exactly like he did in the photos. Tall, sharp-eyed, and carrying the commanding presence of a corporate president. When Chloe saw me, she wasn't surprised at all. She merely blinked at me playfully. Julian, meanwhile, looked busy and hurried. After greeting the receptionist, he immediately turned to leave. But just before leaving, Chloe suddenly stepped half a pace closer to me. The familiar scent of her perfume brushed lightly past me. The next second, she slipped a hotel key card into my palm. She lifted her eyes toward me, her gaze like soft threads wrapping briefly around my body before she casually pulled away as if nothing had happened. When she saw me close my hand around the key card, the corner of her lips curved upward slightly, clearly misunderstanding my reaction. Then she turned and followed after Julian, as though nothing had happened at all. A moment later, the receptionist received a call from upstairs and respectfully guided me up. Looks like Elena had seen the message I sent her. The moment I entered the office area, my coworkers were naturally led away to the meeting room by her assistant. The office door shut softly behind me. Elena's office was simple and cold in tone, just like her. The moment I stepped inside, she stood up and walked toward me. Before I could even speak, she threw herself into my arms. She buried her face against my neck and gently rubbed against me. I froze in place. Then I asked, so, you've already reached an agreement with them? She lifted her head, her eyes dark and steady. I was waiting for you, I asked. You knew I'd come? She gave a soft, Seeing that she didn't intend to elaborate further, I switched into professional mode and began introducing my company's situation. Although our company isn't as large as the Vance Corporation, in recent years we've brought in. She looked at me quietly and listened until I finished speaking. Then, without the slightest hesitation, she nodded. Okay. The deal came together so quickly that I hesitated. Shouldn't you maybe send someone to evaluate us first? But she only smiled softly. Our technology is already leading the world. Whoever we partner with, the outcome will still be success. But working with you is different. When I left back then, it was for my dream, and now that I've come back, it's for you. Chapter 11. The Launch Event Encounter. Not gonna lie, the office was pretty spacious. Maybe because we'd been separated for so long, her level of enthusiasm afterward was honestly shocking. By the time everything ended, Marcus and the others had already left, so I could only explain that something urgent had come up. At the Equipment Partnership launch event, every candidate company showed up. Even though everyone had already assumed the Sterling and Vance families were the obvious winners, nobody wanted to miss a chance to show their face. Any opportunity for exposure was worth taking. The moment Elena arrived, she was immediately pulled away to explain the project details. I stood alone in a corner with a glass of wine. I had barely taken a sip when I spotted a familiar face. Chloe said irritably, Ethan, are you seriously chasing me all the way here now? Only then did Julian, standing beside her, finally notice me. Chloe, and this is? Chloe let out a cold snort. One of my pursuers, she said. He's probably here because he followed me. Julian glanced at me and frowned slightly. Really? Because he looks more surprised than anything. Chloe's gaze settled on my face. He's very good at acting, she said. Back when he was trying to pursue me, he even pretended to approach me as just a friend. Julian smiled faintly. Is that so? Then I'd say he was pretty devoted to you. Chloe's expression stiffened slightly. At that moment, Elena walked over. She stopped directly in front of me and asked, Are you cold? Want to go eat something? Chloe's gaze turned even colder, her hand tightening slightly around Julian's arm as she asked, Miss Hayes, don't tell me you're planning to collaborate with him? Elena turned toward her and replied calmly, You'll find out soon enough. Chapter 12. Standing in the spotlight. Chloe's friends had come too. Serena sat beside her. Julian wasn't with her at the moment. He was across the venue talking with several friends. Chloe handed her phone to Serena. The screen was still open to her chat with Ethan. The final message she had sent him was marked with a glaring red exclamation mark in front of it. Chloe asked, What does this mean? Serena lowered her voice. Chloe, you've been blocked. Chloe's face darkened instantly. Truthfully, she already regretted it. Back then, she shouldn't have cut things off so completely. Maybe Ethan had always been too accommodating toward her, making her believe he would never truly leave. Or maybe the sweetness of being with Julian had buried that faint spark of emotion she once felt, to the point that she mistakenly convinced herself Ethan had only ever been a reliable friends with benefits partner. But with Julian, she always had to hide parts of herself. Even though Julian treated her well, beneath the gentleness there always seemed to be an undercurrent of scrutiny. Even in bed, he felt as though he were simply completing an obligation. Chloe tried taking the initiative and pleasing him, but never received even the slightest emotional validation in return. Ethan had never been like that. The launch event officially began. Elena stepped onto the stage. Chloe, still irritated, casually glanced toward the presentation platform, then suddenly froze. Ethan was standing at the center of the stage dressed in a sharply tailored suit, holding a microphone. He fluently presented the proposal in both Chinese and English. His speaking pace was calm and steady. Under the lights, he practically seemed to glow, confident, professional, dazzling. Elena stood behind him, watching him with unmistakable admiration. Between the two of them seemed to exist an invisible barrier no one else could step into. Julian checked the time and said flatly, "What a pity, wasting so much time." In the end, the Vance family still couldn't rise to the occasion. He tilted his head toward Chloe, but there wasn't even the slightest warmth left in his eyes. Chapter 13. The Dark Window on the 13th Floor. After the event ended, my boss called me excitedly. The Vance Corporation was already preparing a celebration banquet, and then we stole the deal right out from under them. I heard President Vance's face turn completely black from anger. I didn't comment. I took Elena home with me. She seemed especially fond of floor-to-ceiling windows. While leaning against me, she gazed at the lake to the side, then at the building across from ours. The window on the 13th floor opposite us was always dark. No matter when I looked over, it was nothing but silent darkness. Near my ear came her soft murmur. Elena whispered, "When you were giving your presentation earlier, my heart rate," she said quietly, "was 3% faster than normal." Her heartbeat really was fast enough that mine began speeding up too. I wrapped my arms around her and finally asked the question that had lingered in my mind for so long. "Your coworker mentioned earlier that you own an apartment in this city. Is that true?" I stared at her and asked one question after another. "Is it in this residential complex? Or is it the apartment on the 13th floor across from mine?" A flicker passed through Elena's eyes. "So you figured it out? So it really was her?" I asked. "How did you know I was here?" She replied, "At first I didn't. Later, I accidentally overheard my friend talking with her boyfriend, and they mentioned this place." Chapter 14. 3 years of silent waiting. Actually, she lied to me. 3 years ago, the moment she got off the plane, she tried contacting me. When the call wouldn't go through, she immediately understood the choice I had made. At the time, she wasn't financially stable at all. She couldn't even scrape together enough money for another flight back, so she buried herself in research while taking on all kinds of freelance work during her spare time. Finally, not long afterward, she managed to save enough money and took leave to fly back. But someone else had already moved into my old apartment. Still, she refused to give up searching for me. She had even considered never returning overseas again, just staying here and waiting for me to appear. Until one day, she discovered an email in her inbox. It was a scheduled email I had set up in advance, originally intended to create the illusion that I was still waiting for her. The email contained only a single sentence. "May your future be brilliant, and when we meet again, may you be happier and better than ever before." She stayed silent for a very long time. In the end, she flew back to the research institute. Later on, she discovered that a female colleague who occasionally came over for academic exchanges happened to be my best friend's girlfriend. Unintentionally, she managed to learn my current address from their conversations. From that point onward, every holiday she would take leave and come back here. 3 years. Not especially long, but not short either. The light behind that window never once turned on for anyone, but she had always been there. Chapter 15. The Online Smear Campaign. Later, Serena contacted me. "Ethan, Chloe is really miserable right now. Can't you at least comfort her a little? A relationship deserves some respect after everything you shared together. Why are you being so ruthless?" I replied, "I blocked Chloe, but forgot about you, her toxic bestie. Then I blocked and deleted her too. Once, at 3 o'clock in the morning, An unfamiliar number sent me a message. Back then, when you looked at me, did it hurt this much too? Ethan, can we meet and talk? I knew the messages were from Chloe. I didn't reply. I blocked this number too. Elena had already come back, and she had become even better than before. I no longer needed any temporary distractions to fill the emptiness inside me. When Elena asked what was wrong, I shook my head. Nothing, just spam messages. I just couldn't understand it. Back then, Chloe herself had been the one to suggest a pure relationship without emotional attachment, so why was she the first one unable to let go now? What I didn't expect, however, was for my past with Chloe to suddenly be exposed online. Rumors spread everywhere claiming I had harassed Julian's fiancée. They said I was dating Elena while simultaneously chasing after someone else's girlfriend, calling me a disgusting creep and warning Elena not to become a love-struck fool blinded by romance. Research news normally didn't attract much public attention, but Elena's looks had already gone viral online before, and plenty of content farms had reposted videos of her. The scandal exploded almost instantly. Chloe never released any public statement. Instead, she contacted me again using a new account. Let's get back together. If we do, I can clear up all those rumors. I ignored her. As public opinion spiraled further and further out of control, the first person to publicly speak up for me was unexpectedly Julian. Using the company's official account, he posted, "Since the day I met Chloe, Ethan has never harassed my fiancée. Please stop making malicious assumptions about him." I privately messaged him to thank him. Then I advised him to seriously reconsider this marriage alliance. He replied, "I'll think about it carefully." Soon after, a video was released. Elena Hayes had filmed it for me. Facing the camera, I spoke calmly. "Yes, Miss Hayes and I are indeed in a relationship, but that does not affect the effectiveness of the medical equipment itself. Miss Hayes' team possesses some of the world's leading research achievements, and their work will benefit countless patients in the future. So I hope everyone will stop here and focus instead on Miss Hayes' scientific accomplishments. As for Chloe Vance, we did once have a relationship, but our company and the Vance Corporation have always been competitors. If I were harassing her, wouldn't that basically be professional suicide?" Then I sighed lightly. The people capable of inventing rumors like this really are both stupid and malicious. I looked directly into the camera, as though through the lens I could see Elena standing behind it filming me. Truthfully, I hadn't planned to respond at all, but I didn't want Elena to get dragged down because of me. I hoped that in the future, when people search for her name, the related results would be about her scientific achievements, not a pile of messy clickbait gossip articles. Chapter 16. The Strawberry Wrapper and the Tracker. After the public backlash finally died down, I heard Chloe and Julian had fought several times. At the same time, one of the Vance family's illegitimate sons began causing trouble within the family as well. The once untouchable Miss Vance, who had always stood high above everyone else, was visibly panicking lately. Originally, marrying Julian and helping the Vance family secure Elena's contract had been her opportunity to prove to the Vance family that she still had value. But now everything had become uncertain. I leaned back in my chair, rubbing my temples as I looked at the woman in front of me. "Was this your doing?" I asked. I had dated Chloe for 2 years, so I knew quite a bit about the Vance family. Old Master Vance had always adored Chloe. How could he possibly agree to let Father Vance bring an illegitimate son into the family? Elena put down her phone and said, "So you're finally done with work." Then she deliberately changed the subject. "Does that mean it's time for you to turn in your homework now?" I was speechless. When I came home earlier, I had intentionally claimed I still had unfinished work, hoping to stall for as long as possible. Very soon, though, I had no energy left to think about anything else. I completely drowned in her tenderness. Before this, Elena had already investigated all the recent drama, including the trending scandal. All of it had been orchestrated by Chloe. A rich heiress who had spent over 20 years getting everything she wanted naturally couldn't tolerate being rejected over and over again. So Elena casually prepared a small gift for her in return. It hadn't even taken much effort. All she needed to do was say a few words to the right people. Under the dual pressure of scandal and collapsing business performance, the Vance Corporation quickly fell into crisis. Chloe wanted to reconcile with Elena, but she couldn't even get the chance to meet her. That day, Elena went out while I stayed home alone to rest. Suddenly, I heard the sound of the door lock turning. Someone opened the door and walked in. It was Chloe. Back then, she had kept a spare key. Later, she claimed she had lost it, and afterward she never used the key again, so recently it had never occurred to me to change the locks. What kind of stunt was she trying to pull this time? I immediately stepped backward to keep my distance from her. Unexpectedly, seeing my reaction only made her look hurt first. Pain flashed across her expression as she said, "Ethan, do you really hate me that much?" Her voice choked slightly with emotion. "I know I wasn't good enough before. I regret it now. Ethan, can't you help me? As long as you're willing." Before she could finish speaking, her gaze suddenly locked onto the trash can behind me. Inside lay an empty ultra-thin condom wrapper, strawberry-flavored. A sudden spark of hope appeared in Chloe's eyes. "Why is it strawberry flavor? That's my favorite flavor. You still have feelings for me, don't you? Where's the other half of the box?" I replied, "Wasn't it you who told me to use them with someone else?" The corners of her eyes reddened. "Who did you use them with? Ethan, do you even have a heart?" At that exact moment, someone knocked on the door. I opened it. 2 security guards entered and politely but firmly escorted Chloe out. The entire time, I never had any physical contact with her. Elena rushed into my arms and asked worriedly, "Are you okay?" I shook my head. "I'm fine." Then, after a brief pause, I looked at her and asked, "But I only texted security just now. How did you know what was happening here?" She pressed her lips together and hesitated for a moment. Then she explained softly, "I wasn't spying on you. You don't like it when I interfere with your life, so I just put a location tracker on Chloe's phone." Impressive. She had officially evolved from a sinful dream girl into a full-on Yandere. Chapter 17. Upgraded Systems and Broken Vows. Chloe was still the legitimate daughter of the Vance family after all, and with her engagement to Julian, she managed to stabilize her position for the time being. Ever since the previous incident, Elena had remained constantly on guard, keeping an especially close watch against Chloe. At a public event, the host jokingly asked Elena, "How do you view emotional entanglements from the past?" In the past, she would never respond to personal questions, but this time she lifted her eyes and glanced toward me in the audience. The corner of her lips curved upward slightly as she replied, "Outstanding people naturally attract attention, but upgraded systems no longer support outdated versions." The audience instantly burst into knowing laughter. Chloe sat among them, her expression turning ugly. Even Julian beside her couldn't help laughing out loud. Perhaps because Chloe had been frustrated for so long lately, she unusually snapped at Julian on the spot. "What's so funny?" But Julian merely shrugged and ignored her complaint entirely. Meanwhile, people in the neighboring seats began discussing Elena and me. This is what a truly top-tier couple looks like. Both people growing independently while supporting each other equally. Exactly. They never fake romance online or constantly show off their relationship. This is what ideal love looks like to me. The words struck Chloe like invisible slaps across her face. Julian listened quietly and nodded slightly. He looked at Elena on stage, then glanced at Chloe beside him. Something about that gaze irritated Chloe deeply. "What are you looking at?" she demanded resentfully. Julian answered clearly, "My ex." Then he said, "Chloe, let's call off the engagement. Now that I think about it, you don't really bring me any value either. A declining Vance family, endless scandals to clean up, and a spoiled heiress who wants everything without compromise. I honestly can't think of a reason to continue this losing investment." People around them immediately turned to stare. Chloe looked stunned. "How can you even say something like that? You're my fiancé. Aren't these things exactly what you're supposed to do for me?" Julian replied indifferently. "Really? Then what exactly have you ever done for me?" Chloe raised her voice sharply. "What have I done for you? Whatever you wanted from being with me. That's exactly what I gave you." Julian clearly couldn't be bothered arguing anymore. He simply nodded. "Fair enough. Then since I don't want anything anymore, we'll just end the engagement." Chloe's face flushed red. She bit her lip and snapped. "Julian, heartless people like you will never deserve genuine love. Losing me is your loss. Karma's coming for you." Julian only smiled carelessly. "You should worry about yourself first. Don't let your father's illegitimate son kick you out of the family." After the event ended, I spotted Chloe from a distance and pretended not to see her. She tried to approach me, but security stopped her. One of the guards said politely yet distantly, "President Wong instructed us that if it's Miss Vance, there's no need for reunions. His schedule is very full." Elena and I got into the car. The moment we sat down, Elena wrapped her arms tightly around me. Her eyes sparkled as she said, "I used to think everything in this world could be understood like mathematics, quantified through data, even love. I always thought there had to be some exact number before you'd never leave me. Damn, no wonder she used to want intimacy so frequently before." She continued, "But now I understand feelings can't be quantified. Making low. Holy shit, this female pervert. I hurriedly covered her mouth and glanced at the driver. Then I warned her in a low voice. There's someone here. I raised the divider in the middle, sealing off the space. Only then did she quietly finish her sentence. Making love can. Chapter 18. The 1437th calculation. The public had always loved gossip. Once the conversation turned spicy, people got more and more excited talking about it. Even the once untouchable Chloe became the center of discussion this time. One person commented, "Insider gossip here. People in their circle say Chloe's private life is a complete mess. She was dating Ethan while climbing her way toward Julian at the same time." Another person replied, "I heard about that ages ago. That's why I wanted to warn President Sterling back then. He almost became the rebound cleanup guy. What kind of nightmare life trial is this?" Another comment asked, "Neutral passerby here, but did Julian suddenly stop simping and wake up or something?" The next comment replied, "Hard to say. Didn't Julian once say this? Don't let a good woman down, and don't waste a bad woman either. Could someone like that really be a simp?" The growing controversy around Chloe Vance even began affecting the Vance Corporation stock price. As for me, I honestly couldn't care less. Netizens could gossip all they wanted. The real issue was that my sinful dream girl had started pulling new stunts again. Of course, by now even I had been trained up quite a bit. My tolerance for pushing limits was getting higher and higher. Chloe came looking for me several more times afterward. I knew she didn't necessarily love me that deeply. She just couldn't accept the contrast. She couldn't handle the fact that the backup option who once belonged to her now considered even looking at her a waste of time. At this point, she didn't even deserve the chance to repent. Now my career was steadily rising. Meanwhile, Elena chose to step behind the scenes and focus entirely on research. She disliked publicity. She said she didn't want anything taking away from the private time that belonged only to the two of us. I heard there would be a Leo meteor shower tonight, so I drove her up into the mountains for camping. We sat side by side on the grass. The night sky stretched endlessly above us, stars hanging low across the horizon. Before I could speak, she suddenly asked, "When I went overseas 3 years ago, did you already like me?" I nodded. Yes. If I hadn't loved her, I wouldn't have fallen apart for so long after she left. I wouldn't have numbed myself with alcohol, and I definitely wouldn't have secretly saved enough money for a plane ticket just to fly overseas and see her from afar one single time. After returning from that trip, I forced myself to pull my life back together and move forward. After all, she was doing well over there, and right now even the countless stars in the sky paled in comparison to her. I took out a ring box and opened it. Inside was the ring she had fallen in love with years ago when we were shopping together. "Elena, will you marry me?" Elena immediately stretched out her hand excitedly. "Ethan, you're so romantic. You actually chose this exact day to propose to me." I looked at her in confusion. "Huh," she said. "Everyone says marriage needs a romantic number attached to it. Today is our 1437th time. Of course I'll marry you." Wait a second. Had it really happened that many times already? Seriously, did she keep statistics on literally everything? Truthfully, I had already loved her 3 years ago, but back then I was too busy struggling forward through life, and she had her own future ahead of her. I couldn't hold her back from achieving her dreams. Now, though, everything was finally just right. Chapter 19. The Permanent Algorithm. 1 year after the meteor shower, our wedding was held quietly in a private seaside villa with only our closest circle in attendance. There were no media cameras, no intrusive reporters, and no flashy corporate alliances. Lucas served as my best man, still occasionally shaking his head and muttering about how Elena's terrifying efficiency had somehow tamed me completely. Meanwhile, Julian Sterling sent a lavish gift along with a sincere handwritten card wishing us peace and success. His company had officially cut all business ties with the Vance family months ago, and without his backing, the Vance Corporation had completely fractured under internal disputes, leaving Chloe permanently removed from the executive board. She had tried reaching out one last time before moving abroad, but her name was already an irrelevant footnote in a closed chapter. After the guests dispersed and the seaside breeze settled into a calm hum, I found Elena standing on the balcony of our new home, staring out at the moonlight reflecting across the water. She was wearing a loose silk robe, holding a leather-bound notebook in one hand and a glass of warm water in the other. I walked up behind her, wrapping my arms around her waist and resting my chin against her shoulder. "What are you calculating now, Dr. Hayes?" Elena tilted her head back, leaning comfortably into my chest. A soft, contented smile touched her lips as she showed me the open page. Instead of complex algorithmic equations for neural robotics, the page was filled with neatly logged dates, flight numbers, and time intervals spanning the 3 years we were separated, ending with today's date. I ran a final regression model, she said in that calm, analytical voice that used to intimidate me. The probability of encountering someone whose life perfectly aligns with mine was less than 0.0004%. But according to the updated data over the past year, our emotional stability coefficient is approaching infinity. I chuckled, gently taking the notebook from her hands and placing it on the table before turning her around in my arms. So the machine finally admits that love doesn't need to be calculated? No, Elena whispered, her peach blossom eyes glittering with pure affection and that familiar dangerous allure as her hand slid up to the back of my neck. The machine concluded that you are the only constant variable I will ever need. But as for our physical data, she paused, leaning in until her breath brushed against my lips, her voice dropping to a teasing murmur. We're scheduled to set a brand new record tonight. Ethan, don't you dare fall behind. I smiled, tightening my grip around her waist as I kissed her under the starlight, knowing that after all the detours and lost time, my sinful dream girl was home forever.